Good afternoon. This is White Raptor News Ministries. All praise and glory to the Supreme Spirit of Truth, the Living One, the author of life, the source that moves all things in place, the all you can see and all you cannot see, the visible and invisible, the Almighty. Praises be to the Supreme Creator. Here we're at Kings 8, 1 Kings 8, the ark brought back to the temple. So where is the ark today? Huh? Who has possession of the ark? Anybody? Put it down there in the column if you can tell me who has the ark today. Then King Solomon summoned into his presence at Jerusalem the elders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes and the chiefs of Israelites' families, to bring up the ark of the Lord's covenant from Zion, the city of David. All the Israelites, again, Israelites, look at this word. IS could be Isis. Ra is the sun god. El is the Almighty, Israel. And then you have elite. And then this is all a representation of what? The Israelites. So the Israelites are the elites. All the Israelites came together to King Solomon at the time of the festival in the month of Ethiam, the 7th month. When the elders of Israel had arrived, the priest took up the ark, and they brought up the ark of the Lord and the tent of meetings and all the sacred furnishings in it. The priests and Levites carried them up, and King Solomon and the entire assembly of Israel that had gathered about him were before the ark, sacrificing so many sheep and cattle that they could not be recorded or counted. Wow. Wow. More sheep and cattle that could be counted. Everybody eat, have a feast. I just don't understand about sacrifice sometimes. I've showed you guys on my channel many dozens of times that sacrifice is an abomination to the Lord. Your incenses are detestable to him. And so your convocations, your Sabbath days, all of it, it tells you, mean less to him than doing a righteous act. The priest then brought the ark of the Lord's covenant to its place in the inner sanctuary of the temple, the most holy place, and put it beneath the wings of the cherubim. The cherubim spread their wings over the place of the ark and overshadowed the ark and its carrying poles. Anytime you're talking about overshadowing something, means that it's controlled. Anything that overshadows, a helicopter mom overshadows her children. These poles were so long that their ends could be seen from the holy place in the front of the inner sanctuary, but not from outside the holy place, and they are still there today. Well, the Bible was written frickin' 4,500 years ago, so do we know if they're there still to this day? Is there anybody that could put that down in the comment section and tell me, yeah, they're here. John, they're right here at this place. You know, geographically, give me some coordinates and point it out on a map, on a Google map. Could you do that? There was nothing in the ark except the 2 stone tablets that Moses had placed in it at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites after they came out of Egypt. And what do you suppose was on these 2 stones of tablets? This would be the 10 Commandments. Okay, folks, this is what I myself try to walk by, is the 10 Commandments. Keep them on my heart and walk with them and do what's right. That's the way I see it today anyways. Wasn't always. Shit, I was deep in sin. You know, I was a liar. I was a cheater. I was a fornicator. I was all that. So, there's consequences to our behavior. How is the Creator going to punish us or teach us anything? Well, if you're fornicating with somebody, then he's going to bring you somebody that you really fall in love for, you fall for, and then that person is going to rip your freaking entire life into crumbles. That person is going to destroy you, male or female, either way. If you're not walking righteous with God, and you're not building a family with one man, and you're out hoeing around, then your family's going to be destroyed. It's going to fall apart. That's the way it works. That's your punishment. You're supposed to, if you're a husband and you went out and you cheated on your wife and then your house falls apart, that's supposed to be a lesson for you. You're the one that fucked up. You're the one that went out and cheated on the wife. You're the one that, let infidelity take place. You got to own up to your own stuff. Men and women alike have to gird up their selves and protect themselves. There's a lot of both men and women out there that are home wreckers. They were brought up that way. They're sex slaves. They were raised in chambers, and they've had hundreds of men that have climbed on top of them. And then they're set out on our streets as home wreckers to destroy the family. This place is evil. I'm sorry that I'm the only one that sees that. You could probably all think that I'm insane and out of my mind to think such a thing, but the numbers are so incredibly large, it just blows me away, and nobody sees it. Everybody just, walks the other way. They talk about it a little bit, but nothing ever changes. Well, nothing ever changes because there's no actions that are ever taken. Start taking actions against a pedophile or a parent that rapes their thing, imprison them for the rest of their lives. If it's proven, take away from them what they took away from their daughter or their son. It's time for America to wake up and stop allowing the government to write policies over your raising your children. That shit about you can't lay your hands on your children, the government telling me that, I'd laugh at them. I'd spit in their fucking face. Yeah. Anyways, there was nothing but the 2 stone tablets, and those 2 stone tablets are the 10 Commandments, which were where the covenant with Israel had been made in Egypt. When the priest withdrew from the holy place and the cloud filled the temple of the Lord, the cloud of what? Anytime a cloud is around, the cloud represents darkness. Also, a cloud here could represent the iCloud. Isn't there a big cloud in the sky where all the information is just stored? On an electrical grid somewhere, everything that you've ever done on this internet has been downloaded to a cloud, the iCloud, and where all your information is siphoned into a computer that analyzes every click, everywhere you go, everything that you do. And once you realize this, you start realizing that it's all a sales pitch. The entire world is nothing but cells and upgrades, cells and upgrades. So, he filled the temple of the Lord, and the priests could not perform their services because of the cloud. For the glory of the Lord filled his temple. I think that the supreme spirit of life would be nothing but light, not a cloud. Unless the cloud exists to hide the light because you can't be seen, you can't look upon the Lord. In which case I would say you have a contradiction there in Exodus chapter 33, where Moses sits with the Lord face to face like one that sits with a friend. And then in the same chapter, 19 through 11 or 19 through 21, you have the Lord telling Moses that no one can set their eyes upon him. He says that there's a place where I shall place you in the cleft of a rock, and when I walk by, I will show you my glory. And I will hold my hand high, and as I pass by, I will remove my hand so that you can see my back. But for my face it cannot be seen, for you will surely die. No one can see my face and live, is what it says. So the glory of the Lord filled the temple. Then Solomon, this could be soul of man, the soul of man said, The Lord has said that he would dwell in a dark cloud. Now that's peculiar. A dark cloud. Anytime that I look at dark, I see obscurity. I see a hidden place, something you can't see. You speak about dark to me, I think magic. Why is a perfect God of light dwelling in something of darkness? I have indeed built a magnificent temple for you, a place for you to dwell forever. Hold on. That doesn't make sense. So I love these chapters that say stuff like this, because this is the same chapters of King. If we drop down here to 27, it says, but will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you. So, a place for you to dwell forever. God doesn't dwell in a temple built by man's hands. We are the temple. The body, the flesh, the soul, everything that exists is of God. While the whole assembly of Israel was standing there, the king turned around and blessed them. Then he said, praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel. Showed you guys yesterday, God of Israel in English gematria is 666. Who with his own hands has fulfilled what he promised with his own mouth to my father David. For he said, since the day I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I have not chosen a city in any tribe of Israel to have a temple built so that my name might be there. But I have chosen David to rule my people Israel. My father David had it in his heart to build a temple for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to my father David, you did well to have in your heart to build a temple for my name. Nonetheless, you are not the one to build the temple, but your son, your own flesh and blood. He is the one who will build the temple for my name. The Lord has kept the promise he made. I have succeeded David, my father, and now I sit on the throne of Israel, just as the Lord promised. And I have built the temple of the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. I have provided a place there for the ark, in which is the covenant of the Lord that he made with our ancestors when he brought them out of Egypt. Solomon's prayer of dedication. Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in front of the whole assembly of Israel, spread out his hands towards heaven, and said, let's see, did I read that right? The Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in front of the whole assembly of Israel, spread out his hands towards heaven, and said, Lord, the God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above or on the earth below. You who keep your covenant of love with your servants who continue wholeheartedly in your way. You have kept your promise to your servant David, my father. With your mouth you have promised, and with your hand you have fulfilled it, as it is today. Now, Lord, the God of Israel, keep for your servant David, my father, the promises you made to him when you said, you shall never fail to have a successor to sit before me on the throne of Israel. If only your descendants are careful in all they do to walk before me faithfully as you have done. And now, God of Israel, let your word that you promised your servant David, my father, come true. But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens and even the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built, yet given attention to your servant's prayers and his pleas for mercy. Lord my God, hear the cries and the prayers that your servant is praying in your presence this day. May your eyes be open towards this temple night and day, this place of which you said, my name shall be there, so that you will hear the prayers your servants praise towards this place. Hear the supplication of your servant and of your people Israel when they pray, towards this place. Hear from heaven, your dwelling place, and when you hear, forgive. When anyone wrongs their neighbor and is required to take an oath, and they come and swear the oath before your altar in this temple, then hear from the heaven and act. Judge between your servants, condemning the guilty by bringing down on their heads what they have done, and vindicating the innocent by treating them in accordance with their innocence. When your people Israel have been defeated by an enemy because they have sinned against you, and when they turn back to you and give praise to your name, praying and making supplications to you in this temple, then hear from heaven and forgive the sins of your people Israel and bring them back to the land you have given their ancestors. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain because your people have sinned against you, and when they have prayed towards this place and give praise to your name and turn from their sins because you have afflicted them, then hear from heaven and forgive the sins of your servants, your people Israel. Teach them the right way to live, and send rain on the land you gave your people for an inheritance. When famine or plague comes to the land, or blight or mildew, locusts or grasshoppers, or when any enemy besieges them in any of the cities, their cities, whatever disaster or disease may come, and when a prayer or plea is made by anyone among your people Israel, being aware of the afflictions of their own heart, and spread out their own hands towards this temple, then hear from heaven, your dwelling place, forgive and act. Deal with everyone according to what they do, since you know their hearts. For you alone know every human heart, so that they will fear you all the time they live in the land you gave our ancestors. As for the foreigner who does not belong to the people Israel, but has come from a distant land because of your name, for they will hear of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm, when they come and pray towards this temple, then hear from heaven, your dwelling place. Do whatever the foreigner asks of you, so that all the people of the earth may know your name and fear you, as do your own people Israel, and may know that this house I have built bears your name. When your people go to war against their enemies, wherever you send them, and when they pray to the Lord towards the city you have chosen, and the temple I have built for your name, then hear from heaven their prayers and their plea, and uphold their causes. When they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin, and you become angry with them, and give them over to their enemies, who take them captive to their own lands, far away or near, and if they have a change of heart in the land where they are held captive, and repent and plead with you in the land of their captors, and say, we have sinned, we have done wrong, we have acted wickedly, and if they turn back to you with their hearts and souls, and in the land their enemies who took them captive, and pray to you towards the land you gave their ancestors, towards the city you have chosen, and the temple I have built for your name, then from heaven, your dwelling place, hear their prayers and their pleas, and uphold their cause. And forgive your people who have sinned against you. Forgive all the offenses they have committed against you, and cause their captors to show them mercy, for they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out of Egypt, out of the iron smelting furnace. May your eyes be open to your servant's plea and to the plea of your people Israel, and may you listen to them whenever they cry out to you, for you singled them out from all the nations of the world to be your own inheritance, just as you declared through the servant Moses when you, sovereign Lord, brought our ancestors out of Egypt. When Solomon had finished all these prayers and supplications to the Lord, he rose from there before the altar of the Lord, where he had been kneeling, with his hand spread out towards heaven. He stood and blessed the whole assembly of Israel in a loud voice, saying, Praise be to the Lord, who has given rest to his people Israel, just as he promised. Not one word has failed of all the good promises he gave through his servant Moses. May the Lord our God be with us, as he was with our ancestors. May he never leave us, nor forsake us. May he turn our hearts to him, to walk in obedience to him, and keep the commands, decrees, and laws he gave our ancestors. And may these words of mine, which I have prayed before the Lord, be near to the Lord our God day and night, that he may uphold the causes of his servants and the cause of his people Israel, according to each day's need, so that all the people of the earth may know that the Lord is God and that there is no other. And may your heart be fully committed to the Lord our God, to live by his decrees and obey his commands, as at this time. The dedication of the temple. Then the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifices before the Lord. Solomon offered a sacrifice of fellowship offerings to the Lord, 22,000 cattle and 120,000 sheep and goat. So the king and all the Israelites dedicated the temple of the Lord. On that same day, the king consecrated the middle part of the country courtyard in front of the temple of the Lord, and there he offered burnt offerings, grain offerings, and the fat of the fellowship offerings, because the bronze altar that stood before the Lord was too small to hold the burnt offerings, the grain offerings, and the fat of the fellowship offerings. So Solomon observed the festival at that time, and all Israel with him, a vast assembly, people from Lebo Hamath to the Wadi of Egypt. They celebrated it before the Lord our God for 7 days, and 7 days more, 14 days in all. On the following day he sent the people away. They blessed the king and then went home, joyful and glad in heart for all the good things the Lord had done for his servant David and for his people Israel. All praise and glory to the Supreme Spirit of Truth, the living one. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Be safe. There are demons out there. This is White Raptor News Ministries.